Destiny itself is like a wonderful wide tapestry in which every thread is guided by an unspeakably tender hand, placed beside another thread, and held and carried by 100 others. Via Reggio, near Pisa, Italy, the 23rd of April, 1903. You have brought me much joy, my dear sir, with your Easter letter, for it told me much good about you. The way in which you expressed yourself about Jacobson's great and loving art showed me that I did not err in leading your life, with its many questions, to this treasure house. Now Nils Lang, a book of grandeur and great depth, will reveal itself to you little by little, the more often you read it. It seems to contain everything, from life's most delicate fragrance to the most full-bodied flavor of its ripest and heaviest fruits. There is nothing in it that would not be understandable, comprehensible, or that would not ring true to experience. There is nothing in it that would not summon a familiar resonance echoing from the memory. No experience was too insignificant. The smallest happening unfolds like destiny. Destiny itself is like a wonderful wide tapestry in which every thread is guided by an unspeakable tender hand, placed beside another thread, and held and carried by 100 others. You will experience the greatest of happiness reading this book for the first time, and will move through its countless surprises as in a new dream. And as one goes through these books later, awestruck still, they lose nothing of their wonderful power, nor relinquish any of their fairy tale quality with which they overwhelmed the reader for the first time. Only one becomes more and more delighted, more grateful, somehow clearer and simpler in one's perceptions. One has a deeper faith in life, is more content, and has somehow gained in self-worth. And later, you must read the wonderful book about the fate and longing of Marie Ruby, and Jacobson's letters and journals and fragments, and finally, his poems. His poems live on, resounding in one's mind endlessly, even though they are only moderately well translated. In addition, I would advise you, when you have time, to buy the beautiful edition of the whole Jacobson's works. It contains all of these. Now, concerning Roses Should Be Standing Here, the work of incomparable eloquence and form, your negative opinion of the writer of the introduction is entirely and incontestably right. Let me ask you right here to read as little as possible of aesthetic critiques. They are either prejudiced views that have become petrified and senseless in their unhardened, lifeless state, or they are clever word games. Their views gain approval today, but not tomorrow. Works of art can be described as having an essence of eternal solitude, and an understanding is attainable least of all by critique. Only love can grasp and hold them and can judge them fairly. When considering analysis, discussion, or presentation, listen to your inner self and to your feelings every time. Should you be mistaken, after all, the natural growth of your inner life will guide you slowly and in good time to other conclusions. Allow your judgments their own quiet, undisturbed developments, which, as with all progress, must come from deep within and can in no way be forced or hastened. All things consist of carrying to term and then giving birth. To allow the completion of every impression, every germ of feeling deep within, in darkness, beyond words, in the realm of instinct unattainable by logic, to await humbly and patiently the hour of the descent of a new clarity, that alone is to live one's art, in the realm of understanding as in that of creativity. In this, there is no measuring with time. A year doesn't matter. 10 years are nothing. To be an artist means not to compute or count. It means to ripen as the tree, which does not force its sap, but stands unshaken in the storms of spring, with no fear that summer might not follow. It will come regardless, but it comes only to those who live as though eternity stretches before them, carefree, silent, and endless. I learn it daily, learn it with many pains, for which I am grateful. Patience is all. My reaction to the books of Richard Demo, the same, by the way, as to the person whom I do know slightly, is this. When I have found one of his well-written, beautiful pages, I am then already afraid of the next ones, which destroy everything again and can turn that which is worthy of love into something unworthy. You have characterized him very well with the words, lustful in his life and writing. Actually, the creative experience lies so unbelievably close to the sexual, close to its pain and its pleasure, that both phenomena are only different forms of the same longing and bliss. If one could say sexuality instead of lust, sexuality in a large sense, in a wide, pure sense, not one suspect by the church, then his art would be great and infinitely important. His poetic talent is great and as strong as the primeval urge. It has to be impetuous rhythm that breaks forth out of him as water out of the rocks. But it seems that this power of his is not always entirely genuine, and not without assuming a pose. After all, this is indeed one of the most difficult tests for the true artist. He must always remain innocently unaware of his best virtues if he does not wish to rob them of their spontaneity and their unaffectedness. And when Demo's creative power, rushing through his being, meets the sexual, then it finds the man not quite so pure as he needs to be. For him, there exists no totally mature and pure world of sex, none that is simply human and not masculine only. For him, there exists lust, intoxication, and restlessness, beleaguered with the old prejudice and pride with which the male has disfigured and burdened love. He loves only as male, not simply as a human being. Consequently, there is in his perception something confining, something spiteful, seemingly wild, something temporal, not eternal. There is something that detracts from his art and makes it suggestive and questionable. His art is not without blemish. It has been imprinted with passion and transience. Little of it will continue and endure, but this is true of most art. In spite of that, one can appreciate and enjoy the part that is great. One must simply not be overwhelmed, nor become partisan to Demel's world, which is infinitely fearful, full of adultery and confusion, far from the true destinies of man. They may, on one hand, cause more real suffering than his fleeting gloom, but will also offer more opportunities for greatness and more courage for eternity. Finally, regarding my books, I wish I could send you all of those that would somehow give you pleasure. However, I am very poor, and my books, as soon as they are published, no longer belong to me. I can't even afford them myself, and, as I would often like, give them to those who would consider it a gift of love. So, I will write the titles and the publishers of my most recent books on another piece of paper. Of the newest ones published, there must be 12 or 13. I must leave it up to you to order some of my works sometime at your convenience. I am happy to know my books will be with you. Goodbye for now. Yours, Ranier Maria Rilke.